Hey everyone, TJ Hernandez here, and I'm the founder of RosterCoach.com, a classroom-style video-based website that's designed to help you improve your daily fantasy sports game. Today's preview is from a lesson explaining how to use player props to make better DFS lineup decisions. If you like this video, please like and share it, and don't forget to leave a comment below.
And today I wanted to discuss player props. So the first question that I think is really important is why even look at player props? Once again, we know that player props are an extension of Vegas, right? Vegas not only puts out lines and totals for every game of the week, but they also tend to put out an extensive list of specific statistics that you can bet on for each player. We'll go through, obviously, what some of those are in a moment. But in general, I think it's just really important to remember that player props can give you a decent look at what a player's ceiling or floor could be in a given week. It's not something that I would use as the main reason for a daily fantasy decision. We have to remember still that football is a high variance sport with many different possible outcomes for any given player in any given game. But again, Vegas can give us a lot of information about what a player could do in a particular game, especially when we consider how a prop is bet. These are things that I'll talk about with you in a moment. Overall, I think it's probably best to consider player props as sort of a simple guide or simple rating system on which you can evaluate players. A lot of times I'm personally using it to break ties if I have maybe two running backs that I like about the same and one has maybe a higher rushing yard prop than the other by a decent amount. That will maybe be how I make that decision, but it certainly isn't going to be the foundational piece behind a decision. Now, how do we want to read player props? Well, you'll see here that I have a bunch of player props scraped from Conference Championship weekend from last football season. Of course, that's just 2 football games, so this is obviously a lot less props than you're going to see during a typical NFL week, but it does encompass all of the usual props that you should expect to see. For each prop bet, they'll obviously name the prop and tell you what it is. They'll tell you who the player is, and then there will be an over or under. So the over-under is literally the baseline upon which the bet is made. So if you look at total passing yards for Cam Newton, you can see that the over-under was 240.5. That means that when you place a bet on the Cam Newton passing yard prop, you're going to be betting that he either throws for more than 240.5 yards or less than 240.5 yards. Now, the next 2 columns are the money line. They may not necessarily show up side to side. If you look at a website like Bovada, where I like to get my prop bets, a lot of times they show up one on top of the other, but this is something that you'll notice right away when going to look at player props. But it's really important to look at the odds that are being given for both the over and the under for a particular prop. So if we're sticking with this passing prop for Cam Newton, you can see that both the over and the under are minus 115. For betting, we know that numbers that are negative means that they are favored. In other words, in order to bet that Cam Newton prop, you're going to have to be paying a little bit of rake. In particular, you're going to have to bet $115 to win $100. So you're not getting even odds when making that wager. Now, the fact that for this Cam Newton passing prop that both the over and the under are minus 115 tells us that there is no prohibitive favorite in this situation. In other words, Vegas isn't leaning more towards the over or the under. And in this case, maybe you could even consider around 240 yards to be a reasonable expectation for his production in the game. However, we can contrast that with some other situations. For instance, if you look at Cam Newton's touchdown pass prop, the over-under is set at 1.5, but the money line on the over is minus 150, where the under is positive 120. In this case, we can see that the over is clearly favored against the under. Positive numbers are considered underdogs in this situation. They are situations where you would be getting more money than your initial bet if you win. So you can see that because the over is a minus 150 favorite and the under is a plus 120 underdog, that means that Vegas probably expects Cam Newton to throw for 2 touchdown passes, or at least more than 1.5. And there are props that are obviously even stronger than that. We can look at Carson Palmer's interception prop set at 0.5. The over is a whopping minus 200, while the under is plus 160. As you can see that Vegas, in this particular instance, felt really confident about Palmer throwing at least 1 interception. Again, it's really important to understand not just what these props are, but also how to read them. So in the case of the last two prop bets where there was a clear favorite, we should feel a little bit more confident about that projection in the over-under being met, and also understand that there's probably the possibility for that number to be even higher than the over-under would suggest. Just to go through some of the popular props that are going to exist for every position. At quarterback, obviously, you can see we're going to talk about touchdown passes, rushing yards, passing yards, interceptions, and completions.